Well, Warner Discovery went and did it. They picked the weird one. So it's Netflix. Netflix is going to buy Warner Brothers for a lot of money, and it is going to change the industry, and I am of two minds about it. And it's not that I think it's good that one of our companies is acquiring one of our other companies. That's not, no. That's bad. It's bad that they keep doing this. It's especially Warner Brothers. They've been all over the place with the Discovery merger, and then they changed their name 8 times, and now they're back here. Now they're going to be Netflix Warner Brothers. Like, I cannot imagine being a creative, someone like, say, Matt Reeves, who's working on the Batman thing that I just recorded a video about because Scarlett Johansson may be cast in it if that continues to exist, which I believe it will. Netflix has said that they're going to keep everything going that's going. Now, do I believe them? Not more than I believe Warner Brothers, the company that cancels movies that are done. So say what you will about Netflix, but they're not the ones that shelved the Batgirl movie. That was Warner Brothers. Now, let's step back a little bit, because I said I'm of two minds about it. And like I said, one of those minds is not, I think it's good that our companies are all merging. I think it's bad. I've talked about why I think it's bad, probably because it keeps coming up. It keeps happening. Drew Gooden made a very good video recently about why billionaires are ruining everything. And not to spoil the video, but they get into how Jack Welch, the head of General Electric at the time, started doing lots of corporate acquisitions instead of actually like producing things. And the company got worse, and it is currently gone. It doesn't exist. Funny enough, one of their acquisitions was NBC, which is the NBC Universal now, which was one of the companies that lost the bid to Netflix. So that's kind of funny. That's a little, a little full circle. I mean, funny in like a cosmic way, but okay. So mergers are bad. We discussed that. There is like a little kind of thing in your brain. It's hard not to, right? As a nerd, as a comic book fan or whatever. This doesn't really exist with Netflix, but let's say Disney was on the table. There's like a teeny tiny bit of your brain that's like, ooh, now Batman can go meet Captain America. And then that immediately gets overridden by like, but now there's fewer companies and less competition, and it's going to be a mess, and people are going to get fired, and it's going to be bad for the industry. That's just how it is. Part of kind of what's interesting about this merger specifically is like, I don't even know what people would be excited for. I can't wait for 11 to go fight Game of Thrones. Like, Anyway, so merge is bad. However, I am not convinced that this was the worst option. I could be convinced it was, and I'm sure people will say that it was. But frankly, I really just don't know. I don't think any of us know. It's going to take forever to close this deal. One interesting thing about it is Warner Discovery, that was the company that still is, I guess, for now, is going to spin off Discovery TV as its own thing. What Netflix is getting is Warner Brothers. That's apparently what Universal wanted as well, was just the Warner Brothers HBO side of things. Paramount, Skydance wanted all of it. And this is my 2 cents here. I think Paramount Skydance is the worst option. I think that company is in a really, really bad spot right now, specifically when it comes to how the ownership of the company has been dealing with our current administration and how they have been, and I'm not even talking about the Colbert thing, even though that's bad. I'm talking more about like how they ruined 60 Minutes and they put Barry Weiss in charge of all that, even though she's just like a political hack and she's not like a broadcaster or like a journalist or anything like that. Watch the John Oliver piece about Barry Weiss if you don't know who that is. But like, it's funny that less than a year ago, Nathan Fielder did his show, The Rehearsal, on HBO, and that show, season 2 of it, involved a bit where they were talking about how Paramount was bad, and he set them up as the, let's say, 1940s fascist group that apparently if you say it gets your videos demonetized maybe or something. I don't know. But before CBS, Paramount, Skydance all started just bowing to Trump, he put together this whole bit in the episode that kind of framed them as authoritarian. So that's kind of funny. Again, in a cosmic sort of way. But I genuinely think Paramount Skydance, run by the Ellisons, I think them acquiring Warner Brothers and Warner Discovery, I guess, because they wanted both, I think that's the worst case scenario. Again, I could be convinced Netflix is the worst. And honestly, like Universal, Comcast is one I can't really put my finger on. Obviously, nobody likes Comcast as a company. Universal's a large movie studio, so it'd be not great to see those two merge. But it doesn't have the same problems as Paramount politically, and it doesn't have the same problems as Netflix generally. So maybe that would have been the best option if it had to be one of the three. And that's the other thing that feels like kind of gets lost in this. Like Warner Brothers as a company, while I loved Superman this year, in fact, I think Warner Brothers had an incredible year this year specifically. So many of their movies were number one at the box office. I think as a company, they made some big mistakes. Put them in this situation, and this is even before the Discovery merger, but like as a company, it doesn't seem like they had it fully together. So as much as I blame all these other companies for wanting to do the merger, it's also like they're not trying to merge with Disney because Disney's not trying to sell because they're doing okay. Like Warner Brothers is a company, the management of it put him in this situation, and that's not great. Now, I will say, if you're watching this video because you want to hear my thoughts on the James Gunn DC thing, I'm not going to pretend I don't care or I don't think it's important, because I'm sure people will be like, you shouldn't be thinking about that. You should be thinking about that. But that stuff's all very nebulous. It's hard to grasp that. I understand why people want to take something that's a little bit more concrete and be like, well, what about this movie that's coming out in a year and this movie that's coming out in a year? And also, like, that people have this emotional connection to Superman. We just started the Superman thing. We love it, and maybe it's going to be gone. We like James Gunn a lot. We like what he's doing creatively. Like, I understand why people go there. My thought process with that is, I don't think they need to change anything, and I don't see why they would. If the Superman movie was losing money, if we were back in, like, you know, a couple of years ago, before the James Gunn thing, I would be very worried that this will be cut. I would be worried that we're never going to get the Snyder Cut Part 2 or whatever. But because Superman seemed to perform well and make money, I don't see a good reason why they wouldn't want to have more of that, more of Superman, more of these. I mean, God, Netflix has wanted something like this for so long. They've tried so many superhero franchises that have all either, you know, been okay and been interesting, or just kind of crashed and burned. Listen, if there's one group I'm a little bit worried for, it's the Millarverse. Or when they were like, oh, Netflix is gonna do Millar World. We're really excited for Jupiter's Legacy or whatever that was called, and then yeah, it didn't really go anywhere. But I will say, the whole situation's real screwy. We have no idea what's gonna happen. If you're worried about DC movies and the DC universe that just started because you're enjoying it and you're liking the creative direction and what it represents, it's valid. If you're worried about how this will affect movie theaters, also valid. And I guess when you get to these questions about the big stuff, like how's this going to affect the film and the movie theater companies and the idea of seeing movies in theaters, I think we just don't know. I'm sure it doesn't look great, but there's also incentives for Netflix and Warner Brothers now to be like, no, let's win that. Let's take that over. I have no idea what they're going to do because the incentives are so complicated. And the creatives have said a lot of different things about, we want to destroy movie theaters versus like, we want to keep doing things that we're doing. We don't know. With the DC stuff, it's like, I think they stick with it because why wouldn't they? The movies seem to be making money. That's what it's all about, you know, value for shareholders. So that's great. So like I said, I'm of two minds about it. My one mind is I am glad that Paramount did not get it because, like I said, I think they were the worst one. I'm not happy that the situation's happening, but then my second mind, the other thought that I have in my mind is like, I really don't know what this is going to be, because Netflix as a company is so strange. I keep using the word strange but like strange is like a word to describe how they relate to all these other guys, how they relate to Disney, right? What they want, what they're interested in, what their goals are. Because like on one hand, Netflix seems to be actively trying to kind of just mess with how we watch and enjoy things. I talked about this in my Red Notice video on Nintendo v Movies, but like Netflix is really interested in second screen content that's not so complicated so you can watch it and then also be on your phone at the same time. That's not good for the industry and for just like the art form as being something that's like dumbed down so that you can half pay attention to it and experience it. I think part of why Netflix did that is because the phones have created that landscape where that's what people are going to do anyway. So they're like, I don't think they were like, let's do this to destroy movies. I think they did that because they were like, these guys won't look up from their phones. What are we supposed to do? And I also wouldn't be shocked if these other companies are having that discussion and it just isn't getting out. And part of why is because they're all companies. They all behave the same way. They all want the same thing, which is to make money and to get attention, and part of the difficulty of getting attention in this environment is you have to compete with phones. So as much as that being a directive at Netflix is bad, that they want to make content that is easy to be watched on the second screen as well, like so you don't have to pay too much attention to it, because I would not be surprised if this is not uniquely a Netflix problem. But also when we talk about the downfall of the movie theater and the theatrical experience and how it's not what it was before COVID, besides just blaming COVID and like that changing the way people, well, I mean, first of all, changing the way people's brains work after multiple infections, but also just like changing what people prioritize in their lives and how people think about things. Besides that, as much as Netflix gets like hated on because they have said, we want to destroy movie theaters, we don't like them. If I had to pick one company specifically that ruined movie theaters, it's Warner Discovery. Because while companies like Disney were trying to figure out a way to do a release window where you could release a Black Widow movie in theaters and also people would pay for it at home, separately, so it was still something that you would pay money for. It still had value. HBO was putting all of their big movies in theaters and on HBO Max at the same time. And if there's one thing that I believe led to people devaluing the movie theater experience, it's that. People saw that and went, oh, nice. I get to see Suicide Squad at home. Seeing Suicide Squad at home is pretty good. I get to see Dune at home. Seeing Dune at home is pretty good. And like I've said this before, and the Red Letter Media guys talk about it a lot, but like the theater experience is also not what it used to be. And phones are also a problem there, but like, because Warner Brothers made it easy to watch the movies at home, not going in the theater, not adding another cost to like the subscription, people just went like, well, why would I go to the movie theater then if I can just watch it here? And they decided to wait for things, because it's not like now people go like, I want to watch Thunderbolts when it's on VOD, I'll watch it. People do that, but what a lot of people do, what they say is like, I'll see Thunderbolts when it hits Disney Plus, because they expect the theatrical experience and the streaming experience to be kind of the same thing, and there's not a big difference. And just wait a little bit. I think because of this HBO and movie theater strategy at the same time, no extra money for the HBO, you just get HBO Max. I think short term, that probably got them a lot of HBO Max subscriptions. Like long term, we're going to look back and say that was a really important moment, and Warner Brothers messed it up. Like Warner Brothers made it worse for everybody. That's just a theory. We'll see. I'm not an economist, but that's just what it feels like. Now, I kind of forgot my place. But I was talking about how Netflix is strange, because their incentives are not the same as the incentives of Paramount or the incentives of Universal or any of those other companies. Like Warner Brothers is very similar to Universal and is very similar to Paramount. They want to make movies, they want to sell streaming services, all that stuff. They make a lot of money in the theaters, and they make a lot of money in the aftermarket DVD sales. They make a lot of money in subscriptions and stuff like that. And they have other revenue streams, but like they all have that in common. Netflix does not. Netflix almost never puts its movies in theaters, and Netflix does not do physical releases. I think, sometimes they might, but it's definitely not what they usually do. So it's all subscription. So it's interesting because the company that does things different is, buying this company as opposed to one that does the same thing as them. I do think there's something to, while Netflix has a lot of trash, I watch a lot of it. I watch Love is Blind. I watch The Ultimatum. I love all that stuff. So while Netflix has that, I think it's also hard to deny that Netflix does produce good movies and good television shows. Some great movies and some great television shows. Right now, if you need an example, Stranger Things is a pretty good example to look at. It is a big, expensive show, and it's not my favorite thing, but like Stranger Things is good. But like if Stranger Things was bad, if the main thing that everybody was watching on the network was just poorly produced trash, them buying Warner Brothers would be bad. It would be like, oh no, now the things I like are going to be bad now. That would be something that we would think. But at least they know how to make a good television show. I hate their release schedules, and I hate their production schedules taking so long. But you know who else's production schedules? I hate HBO and how many years there are between House of the Dragons or whatever. So, what else is new? But I guess on the other side, you have Frankenstein. Right? They gave Guillermo del Toro a ton of money to just make the movie he wanted to make. And he made a movie that is very Guillermo del Toro-y. And it is not, at least it doesn't feel like to me, it is dumbed down, second screen. Like, while they make the slop, I think everybody makes the slop now, to some extent. While they make that, they do also make seriously great stuff. K-Pop Demon Hunters is the biggest hit of this year, probably, and it is great. Squid Game, while I didn't love the most recent season as much as the first season, that first season was incredible, like one of the best shows of that year. Netflix is consistently producing great movies and great television. Honestly, with Netflix, it's kind of annoying that they don't put the movies in theaters, not just because of what it does to theaters, but it's like, I would like to see the K-Pop Demon Hunters in a movie theater. And I don't want to do a sing-along with a lot of kids. So like, I just wish that was something I could do normally, like I can with any other movie. So maybe this new incentive situation where they are now incentivized to try to make money the way that Warner Brothers made money, because that could be really valuable to them. Maybe that's going to change some of the opinions, and maybe they're going to go, you know what? Maybe we do put Frankenstein in more theaters. Maybe we do put K-Pop Demon Hunters in more theaters. Maybe as part of this merger, they're going to get the Warner Brothers people who are like, we know how to do this. We know how to get a movie into a theater. And like, we know you don't want to, but also like part of maybe why you don't want to is you don't want to do it from scratch, because that's never been how you made money. But it's kind of how we make money. And here's how this could work. I'm sure it's been explained to them how this can be lucrative, and I don't think they're stupid. I could see a world where long-term Netflix movies find their way into movie theaters because of this, which would be great. And it kind of maybe seems like they want that. The Stranger Things finale, not a movie, is going to play in movie theaters. Not in a lot of movie theaters, but some. Frankenstein was in movie theaters. Knives Out, movie theaters. And again, say you about the slop. Apparently Wake Up Dead Man is like a lot of people's favorite movie this year. And they gave Rian Johnson just a stupid amount of money to make this movie that he wanted, and it seems like he made it the way that he wanted. Like I genuinely don't know. Like, who would I rather have in charge of this studio? Netflix this year has produced some of the best everything. So like Netflix this year released Adolescence, which is a lot of people's favorite show of the year. You got stuff that they made this year, like I said, Frankenstein, Train Dreams, Wake Up Dead Man, House of Dynamite, which I thought was very good, at least very well made. You know, we have this company, Netflix, that makes these really excellent movies and refuses to put them in theaters, or at least give them the runs that they deserve. Maybe wouldn't it be nice if this means that they start doing that with everything? Like they say, well, we're gonna keep doing that with Batman, because like Batman movies make money when they go to theaters. So next time we got a K-pop Demon Hunters on our hands, let's maybe try to turn that into a movie theater thing. And maybe if Netflix isn't known as the one that's just at home, maybe they're known now as the one that you see in movie theaters. Maybe that's a different story. I don't know. And like I said, I'm grateful, at least for right now, that's not getting sold to Larry Ellison, and someone who does feel like they would take a lot of creative control. No, we don't want to make shows that say this anymore. We don't want to make shows that say this. This message is actually not like Netflix. I don't think does that. They have done that in the past with the Hassan Minaj show and Saudi Arabia and stuff. They got some weird stuff going on, but otherwise, that's nothing compared to what Paramount is doing now. So in conclusion, is this whole situation good? No. Is Netflix the worst one that could have bought them? In my, who knows who I am, just some guy, but like my opinion is like, I think Paramount might have been worse. I hope that this all works out. And if it doesn't, other studios will show up and take that spot. Right? A24, Neon. Also, like, I didn't even mention this. Paramount was the one that was coming in with Saudi Arabia money. So like, yeah, I'm glad it wasn't them. I mean, be thankful about one thing. It's that. It's up to Netflix to prove that they're good at this and fix movie theaters and prove everybody that's saying it's the death of the industry to prove them wrong. I hope they do. And that's why like supporting independent creators is like more important than ever. Like Patrick Willems made a short film recently called The Dinner Plan. It's that thing where you take a silly situation, you make it really high stakes. And the silly situation is a company dinner. The high stakes are you have to eat all the food and you don't want to. And like maybe that isn't translating right now, but like as someone who has had to do that, it can be a really stressful situation. And I think Patrick does a great job of conveying that emotion in a way that is fun. It stars Griffin Newman, John Hodgman, Zach Cherry. And if you want to watch it along with all kinds of other great stuff, you should check out this video sponsor, Nebula, which we just introduced 3-day trials for Nebula. You're like, what's Nebula? Well, it's a subscription streaming service that I helped to create. I've talked about this many times in many videos before, where me and a bunch of other YouTube creators, people that make videos about like history, culture, current events, science, all kinds of stuff. It's a very big list of what we make videos about. The Nebula is a platform you can go to watch all our videos early, ad-free. You can like download them on your phone. But like Nebula is curated. I don't know if you guys use YouTube a lot. I do for all kinds of stuff. And it has so much AI. And some of it's like obvious AI, right? Like a movie trailer for Avengers Doomsday. And it's all the characters just kind of turning. But there's also AI content where it is a disembodied voice talking about a news thing or character in a comic book or something. A lot of times I'll be like, what is the deal with this vigilante character? I would like to learn a little bit more about him pretty quickly, so I'll put on a YouTube video. And if I did this 3 years ago, it's like people who know what they're talking about, who are fans of the character, research the character, whatever, and they're like human beings. And I love that. Do it now. Unless you see the person's face or you know who they are, it could very well, and a lot of them are just like AI videos where the AI talks about the characters. It drives me up a wall because you don't always know it until like you're a little bit in and you're like, oh man, something about the way this guy's talking just doesn't feel right. But sometimes they just do sound right, and it's not until like you're pretty much done with the video that you're like, damn it, that wasn't a real person. And like Nebula, it's got a lot of great things going for it, but one main one that I love to tell people about is it's all real people. We are making it ourselves, and all the videos getting made on it are made by us, and it's very cool. And a year of Nebula is already a steal. It's $60 a year, $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, in the month of December specifically, you can get a year of Nebula for half that, for $30. That is $2.50 a month. It is an incredible deal. Also, like I said, it's December. The holidays are coming up. Gift giving is always stressful. You get somebody like a t-shirt that they're going to wear once or twice and maybe won't fit. Or you could get them a subscription to a streaming service made by creators you know they love that lets them watch those videos early without ads, lets them download them to their phone. And you can get that for $30 a year if you get it within the month of December. That is an incredible deal. That cannot be beat. So again, go to go.tv/thenandocut in the month of December and get a year of Nebula for $30. It's a great deal. Watch the dinner plan, watch all my videos early, watch all the other cool stuff we put up there. That's all I got. Stay safe, everybody. I'll see you next time.